All right, let's get right into it. As buy now, pay later programs absolutely explode and delinquency trends start creeping up heading into 2026, most of the credit advice floating around out there remains dangerously vague, or honestly just flat out wrong. So we are clearing away all that noise today. In this explainer, we're breaking down exactly what that mysterious three-digit number is actually measuring and revealing the specific tangible actions that literally move the needle. Okay, let's dive into this, because the very first step to mastering your credit is answering a single, absolutely vital question. What is the algorithm fundamentally trying to figure out about you? We spend so much time stressing over the final number, right? But to actually fix it, we have to pop the hood on this machine and understand the behavioral assessment that's driving the whole output. Look, there is a massive misconception out there that your credit score is somehow a reflection of your income or your overall wealth. I promise you it isn't. The algorithm doesn't care about your bank account balance. It is strictly generating a mathematical prediction of how likely you are to repay debt on time, based entirely on your historical data. So it's not a measure of how wealthy you are, it's just a measure of your historical reliability to lenders. And because this is a behavioral prediction model rather than a wealth snapshot, the playing field is completely leveled. We see this dynamic play out constantly. Plenty of high earners have incredibly mediocre scores simply because they're disorganized. Meanwhile, tons of modest earners maintain absolutely excellent credit because they are just incredibly reliable. Your score isn't tied to your salary. It is tied strictly to your habits. Part 1. The engine. Let's look at the two biggest factors. Payment history and credit utilization absolutely dwarf everything else in the algorithm. I mean, together, these two components are basically the engine of your entire credit profile. The big takeaway here is focus. If you aren't optimizing these two major metrics, obsessing over the remaining 10% of the formula just isn't going to save you. And this brilliantly illustrates a key point. While payment history is super straightforward, just pay your bills on time, utilization is where people constantly get tripped up. The algorithm views high utilization as a glaring red flag for financial distress. On the flip side, keeping your balances low relative to your total limits proves to the system that you have measured disciplined control over your available debt. Which brings us to part 2, the traps, mistakes that quietly tank scores. Picture this. You finally pay off your oldest credit card, toss it in a drawer, and decide to close the account just to simplify your financial life. It feels like highly responsible financial hygiene, doesn't it? But to the algorithm, you've just wiped away your longest track record of reliability. You're shortening your average account age and actually tanking your score in the process. Or how about this one? Shopping around for different rewards cards seems totally harmless, right? But if you apply for too many in a short window, you trigger a cascade of hard inquiries. To a lender's algorithm, this sudden, desperate hunger for credit doesn't look like you're just innocently points hacking. It looks like a financial emergency, which causes your score prediction to absolutely plummet. Part 3, the manual. Let's look at what actually moves the needle fastest. So the crucial point is, if you need to repair a mediocre score, you don't need vague advice. You need an immediate game plan. First, aggressively pay down the cards that are closest to their limits to lower that utilization ratio. Second, set up minimum autopay on every single account today. Seriously, right now. Even if you plan to manually pay more later, set the safety net. Now, why do these two steps work so incredibly well together? Well, paying down utilization is basically your secret weapon for speed. It updates relatively quickly, and the algorithm reacts almost immediately. Payment history, on the other hand, is a slow burn. Setting up autopay protects that slow build by entirely eliminating the catastrophic risk of a mispayment while your history matures. Finally, the reality check, the boring truth. The ultimate truth about this whole system is that it rewards boring consistency, not clever tricks. There are absolutely no secret loopholes that will instantly grant you a perfect score overnight. The algorithm just demands that you pay on time, keep balances low, and avoid sudden credit grabs. Basically, be predictably, beautifully boring with your debt, and the math will always work in your favor. And honestly, that is how you master the credit machine. But truly understanding this leaves us with a pretty fascinating question. If a credit score is ultimately just a mathematical measure of how profitable and reliable you are to a bank, should optimizing this three-digit number really be the ultimate goal of your financial life? Or is it just a stepping stone to building actual wealth? Think about that for a second. Thank you so much for joining this explainer, and I will catch you in the next one.